Hey, good morning, everyone. Good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. Hey, Fabio, we have Frafri as well. They're watching in on YouTube. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Product Angle Show. On today's episode, I'm super excited to have Zoe Chew on the show. I think we've never met in person, but we've interacted online for about a year now. And you asked me about a year ago if we can jump on a call to talk about product. And a year later, I'm calling you if we can jump on a call to talk about product. So thank you so much, Joey.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. It's great to see you again. And yeah, let's do this.
Excellent. So before we get started, tell us who you are and what you do.
Sure. Hey everyone, my name is Zoe. I am from Malaysia and I'm a product builder in tech and design. So I'm working with startups based in the US and APAC remotely. So the work that I do is like help early stage companies with product communication, user-based discovery, and community development strategy. And previously, I started my career as a digital marketer and also trainer selling services and pay ads and content marketing to local clients. I'm currently in the process of building a new startup, and I also spend my free time on side projects. So what is that project that I'm doing right now? It's a newsletter talking about building and launching a startup prototype.
Excellent. You're actually doing a lot of stuff. I've seen some of your content and some of the products that you've been launching. We'll get into that in a minute. But one of the questions I've started asking, and it's becoming the question of the show, is tell us something about yourself that you cannot Google.
That's a great question. So something more personal about me. I am a huge fan of electronic dance music. So I used to think that my career path would be something like in the entertainment industry, becoming a superstar actress. Yeah, but that never happened, right? And then I love cats. I love reading, and yeah, yeah.
That's
That,
awesome. I mean, good luck. I mean, if it's never too late, there's always time to find and do what you love. But for your love of reading, I saw your Notion board. You read so many books in a year, in a month, in a week. How do you manage to do all that?
yeah, so I used to do like daily reading. Like I read every day, and then like I average about like 3 books per month, 3 to 4 books per month. So every morning I spend about 30 minutes to 40 minutes just to read like 1 or 2 chapters. But these days I got really busy, like I built a lot of stuff and trying to doing a lot more things. So I average about 2 months, 2 books per month.
Okay,
Yeah,
that's still a lot.
I try.
So, since you like to read so much, let's start off with talking about I Lazy to Read. That got to, that did very well on Product Hunt as well. What made you create I Lazy to Read? How did you come up with that idea?
Yeah. So the idea came up in the morning. So at that time I was learning how to code using Python and Django, and I thought like I probably want to build something using what I already know with the coding skills that I have. So I started writing the app from morning to like the evening, and then the idea was that I wanted to summarize online article without having to read from start to finish. And then so yeah, that's how I got the idea. And then I built it, write code, I and build it and launch it on Product Hunt. And yeah, it was a unplanned launch, so I didn't have any like email list. I remember that I was having like a couple of hundreds of followers on Twitter. It wasn't like having a large following to begin with. And then yeah, uh, I launched it, and then I got featured on Lifehacker, and then like tech blogs started writing about this app and then writing reviews about this app. And yeah, I didn't know how that happened. I still have no idea. But yeah, that was my first experience in like building and launching products on Product Hunt. And if I were to do it all over again, I would build the audience first before I build the product.
Fair enough, but you actually did pretty good with a small audience. If you mentioned that you had a couple of hundred on Twitter, but you still did pretty good, and it got picked up by some major publications. So I think you did pretty good without the audience.
Thank you. I mean, one of the ways for your product to get attention. I think it's just build something simple for people to use it. If they like it, they probably share it. Yeah.
Definitely. So you mentioned you're a marketer earlier. You started off your career as a marketer. How did you get into building products? How do you make that transition from marketing mindset now into a product mindset?
Sure. So in 2019, I I wanted to transition my career from marketing, doing services for non-tech businesses to like tech industry, because I think the whole innovation aspect of the tech industry, it's really exciting. Like you built a product to improve other people's life, and so that's why I want to transition my marketing work from non-tech to the tech industry. And how did I get started? I started by I started to hang out on Product Hunt's forum, and then on Twitter. I look for some inspirations on how to build products and launch products, and then eventually I did learn how to you know uh, hack together some tools on how to build some startup prototype to solve my own problem. And then, I eventually did learn how to code using Python and Django. And so, yeah, the starting point was that I always look at my own problems that I want to solve.
Yeah.
And then that I figure out my own use cases, and then I design the features and functionality, and eventually I build a product. So that's how I actually got started.
That's pretty cool. So all the products that you've built are initially first your problems that you wanted to try and solve, and then you created something, and then you launched it.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. I like that. What are your thoughts on code versus no code? Because as a marketer, you've learned how to code. And the no code movement is expanding, taking off right now. What are your thoughts on the code versus no code argument?
Yeah, I think no code is pretty cool. Like, if you want to validate some startup ideas and just sort of like get some, build some early traction, I think you wouldn't want to spend months, building something, like building an app, right? So I think no code, the use cases for no code in like building startup prototype is useful because it saves you a lot of time to just test some prototype and initial idea. And then I do think no code empowers entrepreneurship. It used to be the reality that, if you're a non-technical founder, it's really hard to like get started to build a software product if you don't know how to program. But no code technologies, empower that. And so everyone, if you want to build startup a software business, you can just get started without having to worry whether you are technical, have the technical background or not. But in terms of coding, I'm actually like getting back to coding right now.
Okay.
Yeah. And the reason why I want to pick up coding is because I think building a minimal viable product, it depends on the types of product you want to build. So if you are building something that has more you know features or functionality that allows users to like experience in as a starting point, then I think like coding can help you to achieve that. And no code, sometimes you hit the limitation in terms of what kind of features you want to build. Yeah. So I would say I combine two approaches, like the no code and code, because you can achieve more a potential in building your star prototype. Yeah.
Definitely. When you build something, you mentioned that you build for yourself first, but I guess where I'm going with this is VCs and people who invest money into products, typically they invest in products that are code-based products. Now, from your perspective, are you seeing money being poured into no-code products yet? Or do you think in the future, the way VCs get attracted to products that are coded will also be attracted to products that are no-code based?
Yeah, this is a great question. Yeah, for like for no code, it's a great starting point to build the user traction. So once you have that, you can always expand your minimum viable product using the coded version, which is more makes it more sustainable to expand to the next step of your product roadmap. So I would say getting initial user traction like using no code is super achievable. And yeah, and in terms of the like VC pouring money into like whether it's a no code and code product, uh I I I am not really like I don't really have a lot of info on that.
Sure.
But having both using both approach is always I think it's always a great combination.
Fair enough. So you've built, one of your recent article was something along the lines of building and launching a product in 24 hours. That's super quick. Talk us through, you getting that idea in the morning, whenever, and, by evening or within 24 hours, it's out on the internet somewhere. So talk us through, your thought process. And I love that you actually release it in 24 hours, because a lot of times it's easy to worry about, oh, this isn't right, or this isn't right. How do I make this perfect? How do I do this? Or how do I add this before launching it? So, respect for getting something out there in 24 hours, getting people to use it. I love that. So talk us through, what your 24 hours consists of.
Yeah, sure. So one of the projects that I launched, it's a meal kit, a meal box, the delivery startup. So it consists of a landing page and also like a mobile app. And so the idea is it's pretty similar, like Blue Apron and HelloFresh. And so I get the idea from there, and then I started like writing the user journey, map out user journey on what a user would take to accomplish an action, and then from there I have a clarity on how to approach the features and design the functionality. And so I pick up like my tools to build it. So one of these tools are like Card and also like Glide.
Okay, I love Glide. I built an app on Glide.
Yeah, I've seen it. That's super cool. And then so once you have a lot of initial steps come from the user journey map that I plan out, because once you have the plan, it's easier for you to like visualize what is the design, what is the the functionality that you want to build. So you reduce the time you need to spend on going back and forth to iterate or to think in terms of, oh, how should I build this, and how should I link to that. You already have the vision when you have the plan, so everything's become easier. And it doesn't really take a lot of time, because you can like duplicate the components when you're using all these like no code tools, and this is why it's a lot faster.
Definitely. So when you've launched after 24 hours, how do you feel? Do you still have that nerves in your stomach, or are you relieved that it's done? What's your feeling?
Yeah. For me, it's like I always have this like impatient syndrome. Like a lot of people have this imposter syndrome, or like I'm not ready to put my work out there. I'm not ready to show my work to the world. So for me, it's like if I set a deadline that I wanted to launch this blog post or product or project, I'll just do it. For me, it's like I can't wait to hit the button. That's my mindset. That's my mindset. Yeah.
Definitely, that's good to hear. Now, what's the product scene like in Malaysia? In terms of indie makers, product management. What's the scene like there in Malaysia right now?
I would say the startup scene in Malaysia, we have a lot of B2C startups and products, and we have like e-commerce. We have B2C, which is more towards the consumer space. And then indie makers, I personally haven't like met any indie makers in Malaysia, but I do know, like when I hang out on Twitter, I know there are a lot of Malaysians indie makers. they're based out of Malaysia, and I think that's super cool. And we know that we have this community in Malaysia. Yeah, and then product manager. I haven't personally attended any meetups in Malaysia, but I do think there are some groups and community out there who are starting this movement in building product and designing products and building website, and yeah.
Definitely. So how have you grown your audience, from that couple of hundred when you first started to where you are now? What have you been doing to grow that audience?
Sure. So initially, like when I started using Twitter, my goal was to transition from marketing to the tech industry. So my intent was to like meet and hang out with people who knows how to build and launch products. So yeah, that's my initial goal. So some of the things that I did was like reach out to one-on-one and have like one-on-one conversation about how to build and start and launch businesses and products. And then I do like and eventually when I started learning how to code, I post my coding journey, uh, and then I share my progress, what I've done, what I built, and then just wanted to like exchange some creative ideas and start some meaningful conversation from the community. And so for me, it's like if you want to build community, I think it's important to like start building quality connections and conversation, and eventually that will expand to helping to curate a network and also like a community for audience. Yeah.
I love that. Put in the hard work is basically what you're saying. There's no easy trick. Put in the hard work, build a relationship, talk to people, add value.
Yeah, and also like sharing your knowledge openly. Like one of the technique that I use is document publicly and share your learning and resources with others. And I mean, it's like how can you be helpful and how can you be valuable to others? Yeah, that's how you build the audience and community. Yeah, I don't really focus on like growing the numbers because for me is I just want to hang out. I just want to have product people to share knowledge with. Yeah.
Definitely. That's the way to do it. Focus on building good, strong relationships versus the numbers.
Yep.
Now, you also do some consulting and things like that. How do you find customers? Oh, Sajal has a question here. What's the first sale product Zoe ever sold?
It's an ebook on SEO.
It's an ebook on SEO.
I started back in 2000, before 2019, that was like 2018.
Okay.
Yeah, so I wrote an SEO, on-page optimization book, and then I sold it for like $90, and then there was some random numbers and some random sales because I wasn't like really focusing on selling e-products at that time. So because I was doing like marketing training and selling services to local clients, and and then the second product that that I recently started is like selling the MVP and templates where people can actually use the template to duplicate and build some prototype. Yeah. Thanks for the question.
Absolutely. Thanks Fajar for the question.
Yeah.
Now, going back to the consulting, you mentioned you do some consulting for clients in the US and all around the world. How do you go about finding these clients? What's working for you?
Yeah. So so the strategy that I use to like get clients like so far is like mostly inbound, which means like at least like 90% are inbound. So prospect look for me on Twitter and also LinkedIn. And then what has worked well for me? I think it's built your personal brand. Okay. And also using content marketing, write articles, have some sort of proof of work where where people can recognize you, that you understand the industry that you are servicing. It gives people some confidence when you have this really build up a track record of proof of work, and so I think those are important pieces in like getting clients to find you. Well, like few years back, I don't really think it was easy for me when I just like getting started.
Yeah.
I had to do a lot of prospecting, like cold emailing and hard selling and pitching. So I was getting like a 1 out of 10 conversion rate because at that time
Hard in
I
the
didn't have
beginning.
at the beginning, like a few years back when I started this like digital marketing services. And then so it was hard when you don't have a personal brand. And I didn't have a personal website, at the time when I just started. And so I would say like being able to pitch yourself, being able to have clarity in the industry that you want to service, like what are the companies, industry, and stages of companies that you want to work with, and be super clear about that and have those things on your website. It's going to help you to land the right clients. Yeah, because we can't be helping all types of customers, right? You have to be focus on your strengths so that you can deliver the best services to your clients.
Exactly. Focus on that specific niche. You can't be everything to everybody, because you'll be nothing to nobody then.
Yeah, like
So in terms of content marketing, right, I want to dig a little deeper in that quickly. One question that I have is, what would you say to somebody who says, I'm in a highly competitive industry, content marketing is not working for me because you know how hard it will be to rank for X, right? What would you say to somebody that, I think content marketing does work. I've got an article on, Google, and it's number 2. So I do like that, but I know some people think that content marketing isn't what it used to be as before, because they feel that maybe they're in a highly competitive industry or a highly competitive space. What would you say to someone, who's thinking along those lines?
Yeah. So by highly competitive, I'm assuming it's like e-commerce consumer space where everyone's selling the same stuff.
Yeah.
And everyone is competing for the same keywords
Exactly.
on
Yeah.
SEO. Yeah. So in terms of content marketing, I think there are many ways to do it. Like you can do it in blog content. You can do it in terms of community events, which is like hosting virtual meetups, doing interview live streams, and IGTV, all these types of content. I really like the approach that Gary Vaynerchuk is using in like in terms of content marketing. So like he says, you can post on TikTok, you can post on LinkedIn, 5 to like 10 times per day, just to give values to your potential customer and get them to engage your posts. And so focusing on giving values, eventually you will attract the right customers to find you. It's about consistency and frequency, and worry about the quality later.
Fair enough. That's a good point. So what have you learned? What are some of the key points that you think you've learned in the last year or so about building products, sharing products, marketing? What are you seeing as your learnings?
Yeah. The first thing that I learned is that it's important to be authentic about your personal brand. So one of the mistakes that I made when I start my first digital marketing, consulting and freelancing career is that I tried to be someone who is not me, which is not authentic, because I think it's like you're trying to be someone in your marketing, in everything that you do. So it's not authentic, and people can actually feel that if you're not authentic in the work that you do. And so being authentic means you have to be honest with what's your strength, what you're what you're good at, and what you're not, areas that you're not good at. And then also like being consistent with that, personal identity and values. So being authentic is like being honest with yourself. So like first off, you're a product manager, so you have to be authentic about your identity and have consistency in projecting that identity in the work that you do, and so that it will help create an impression, also like personal brand, on how other people see you, and so that you can attract the right customers or audience or community. So that's one lesson that I learned in the past year. And then the second lesson is if you're running a consulting business or like a freelancing, I think it's important to build the business in a holistic way. And so that means that you don't get to do things that you love to do sometimes. Like you have to be the salesperson, you have to do the business development, like content marketing and negotiation, closing deals and things like that. And if that's your strength and you enjoy the process, then you're lucky. But if you don't enjoy the process, probably it's time to think about how to outsource the hard part of building the business and hire someone to help you to do that. Yeah. So that's the second lesson that I learned in the past year. Yeah.
Definitely. Now, I'm going to ask you one last question before we sign off. What would you say to somebody who's thinking of creating a business or creating a product? What would you say to them? What should they focus on versus not focus on?
Yeah. I think the number one question you need to ask yourself is what is your motivation in getting started in building products? So do you want to get a job in product role, become a product designer or product manager? Or do you want to, start a product, a product business or a software business? So I think having motivations is important. And then for me, it's the main motivation I want to get into building products because I want to learn how to build MVP so that I can validate a lot of startup ideas. I eventually land on the one idea that I want to stick to for the next couple of years and become a company. And so how do you get started in product building? For me, I don't really focus on learning tutorials. And so for me, it's I want to have a goal on solving a problem and understand the use cases, and then only I find the right tools to design the features and design the product and eventually build a prototype. And so I would say focus on execution. Worry less about the learning because you can always learn by executing.
Yeah, learn by doing.
Yeah.
Definitely great advice. Thank you so much. Well, Zoe, thank you so much for being on the Product Angle Show. It was awesome to have you on, and hopefully once you're launching your new products, hopefully you'll come back and share those with us as well.
Yeah, and thanks for spending time and hosting the Product Angle Show.
Thank you, and thank you for everyone who's also listening in.
Yeah.
All right, thank you, Zoe.
Thank you. Bye.